Hey there everyone, and welcome back to The Disconnected. Today we are going to have the third installment of every boutique label that I collect. We're going to go over at least one, maybe two releases from each of those, and just get some more eyes on them. So let's jump right into it. Alright, first up might be the youngest label in this entire collection right now, and that is Air 4444. This is Anatomia Extinction that just recently came out. This is their first and currently only release on the market, although they have announced a couple others that are coming soon. And this one has gotten pretty great reviews so far. Second up in this batch is a pretty big one, and that is Eureka. This is the Jackie Chan release of Drunken Master. This is from their Masters of Cinema line. This is probably their best line, and in my opinion, definitely rivals the Criterion Collection, and in many ways actually surpasses them in terms of quality. They put out some great releases. The big thing about Eureka is all international shipping is always free, no matter how many you buy, no matter the amount that you spend. Every single international, all of their shipping, whether it's domestic or international, it's always free. Next one is a Canadian label that I've given a lot of love to on this channel, and that is Gold Ninja Video. Their best release in my opinion, and the one that is still available at this moment, is this Jackiesploitation set. This is, I believe, 10 different movies, all channeling the vibe and themes of Jackie Chan movies. And this is one that is just chock full of extras. A whole bunch of information. Justin DeClue from the label, he put a lot of care into that release. Everybody should get that. They are from Canada. Shipping's a couple bucks. It's not that bad. Next up is Full Moon Features. I'm honestly not a huge fan of Full Moon. They put out a lot of subpar movies and some that are, you know, nostalgic classics, not great. The one I chose to talk about is Prehysteria. This is one I watched a ton as a kid. The big thing for me is I don't love Charles Band as a person. He is just a cash-grabbing greed hound, in my opinion. They put out some good movies. They put out a few good releases. I actually have their Toulon's Trunk from Puppet Master, the one with all of the not modern Puppet Master movies, and it was signed by Charles Band. My big thing is they've done a few dirty things with the company. For example, as soon as COVID hit last year, they announced that they were going to be putting out a movie called Corona Zombies. All filmed, shot, released very quickly during the pandemic. Very exploitative to me in ways that kind of feel dirty, not great. Next up is Grindhouse releasing, and this probably isn't their best movie they've put out, but it's possibly my favorite, most fun to watch. That is Pieces. They have just excellent releases. Most of them come with soundtracks. Most of them are in these super nice slip cases, and then what's inside is just great Grindhouse style movies. It doesn't get much better than Pieces. It is a Spanish classic, like splatter movie that is sort of themed like a giallo, but Pieces is fantastic if you've never seen it. Next up is Henstooth Video, and the one I'm going to suggest is, I believe, their most recent release at this time, and that is the Groove Tube. They are the company, I believe, that also put out Flesh Gordon. They put out some classics that people saw decades ago and they just completely forgot and fell out of the cultural lexicon. Good stuff from Henstooth. Next up is an interesting one. It is actually part of a horror subscription box. That is Horror Pack. They put out, I think it's 4 or 5 Blu-rays every month. When you purchase their subscription, you get them to you, and each month one of them is going to be their limited edition numbered releases. They get a lot of indie stuff, and some of them they give the limited edition treatment to for next to no reason. And then other releases that they put in there are generally like bargain bin stuff you'll find at Dollar Tree a few months later, or stuff that they got at Walmart fairly cheap that they can include in these subscriptions. It's great, not disparaging the service in any way. I've got quite a few of their releases, obviously. The one I chose to highlight today is Clickbait. One of the main reasons I'm highlighting this one is because an online friend, Jeremy Long, actually helped write this one, and he is in a couple scenes of it. Next up is the Australian label that is Imprint. They are a sub-label for Via Vision, and they put out quite a few releases so far. I believe we're just over Spine 50 as of this month. They've been doing this since, I believe, either mid-2019 or 2020, so fairly young label, but they are doing a lot of really good work. They put out these limited edition slipcases for their Blu-ray releases, and then their bare bones releases, their standard releases, are exactly the same, just without the case. So they are not that special. If you don't feel the need for that packaging, you can just pick up the standard. They still have the spine numbers and everything on them. The one I'm highlighting is one of my favorites from years ago. This is the thriller Mothman Prophecies. This is with Richard Gere. Really great release. Really fun movie if you've never seen it. It's just a good thriller. Kind of before the mid-2000s craze of horror hit, and it ticks a lot of boxes of the type of movie that I love. Next up, I believe, is a sub-label of Synapse. They're related somehow. I've not done a whole lot of research into that, but that is Impulse Pictures. So far, all I have from them is 2 of their Blu-ray releases from the Nikatsu Erotic Films collection. The one I'm showing is Zoom Up Murder Site. Can't show the back, unfortunately, as there are a couple, there's at least one nipple I see. Just good stuff. These are unrated erotic movies. I wouldn't really say a classic, but Japanese erotic cinema. Next is a big one. This one is one of my favorites, and that is the company from the UK known as Indicator. They also go by Powerhouse Films. Sometimes you'll see that moniker being used. I decided to show 2 releases. The first is one that's not for everybody, but that is their limited release for Irreversible by Gaspar Noé. This release is incredible. The movie looks better than it's ever looked. One thing about their limited editions, they generally include a poster, but the big thing is the size of this book. It is super high quality. This is 77 pages and just chock full of information. Lots of writing in here, lots of art, very well made. Everything about this is just super nice. Hardbox. Their box sets are incredible. Most people have at least seen some of their box sets. If you haven't, I would highly suggest looking into Indicator. They put out some great box sets like the William Castle stuff. They put out the John Ford at Columbia. They've put out some Hammer box sets that are amazing. And then they have a handful of single title limited edition releases like Irreversible that they just put all of their love and attention to. But most of their releases are the single title limited edition that I'm going to show you. Devil in the Blue Dress. This is, of course, with Denzel Washington and Tom Sizemore. This is a Carl Franklin movie that is just great. If you've never seen this, I would highly suggest this one. A lot of Indicator's movies are region free. If they were not Sony releases so far, most of them have been region free. So make sure you're looking at that on Blu-ray.com. Each of their limited edition titles do come with a booklet, and they do come in a separate style case than their standard releases. The next label I'm going to talk about is the one that has released the most films. Not necessarily the one that I have the most from, but they've released the most films, I believe. And that is Kino Lorber. They put out a ton of titles all the time. Some are trash, some are great, some are classic cinema. They are doing amazing things. They put out literally every genre, every style of movie, and they used to be fairly bare bones releases. Now they're actually releasing a lot with a lot of special features. So I would certainly pay attention to Kino Lorber moving forward if you haven't been. Kino's kind of tough because they have so many different styles of releases and so many different like channels that they're harnessing to get attention on their lines. So the first one I'm going to talk about is just a classic horror movie. This is Trilogy of Terror. This is a made-for-TV anthology movie starring Karen Black, and I love this one. This is an absolutely classic. When this finally came out, I could not wait to watch it. Saw it with my wife. She loved all 3 of the stories. The next one is the fact that Kino is getting into 4K. They have released a handful of titles on 4K. They've announced quite a few more. They have Misery coming out in the next couple months. They have Silence of the Lambs coming out. They've announced Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But this, of course, is their release of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This is their only 4K so far that does not have HDR, but that is to get the original color grading intact. And all of their 4K releases so far have looked amazing. One release that they have put out that I think needs a lot more attention is this movie called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. This is a movie that is one of the most stylish vampire movies I've ever seen in my... No, it probably is the most stylish vampire movie I've ever seen in my life. It's an Iranian movie that highlights the dark side of vampirism, basically. It's hard to explain without seeing it, so I would certainly suggest taking a look at that if you haven't. And then the next is the Kino Lorber tag team that they've done with Something Weird Video. And they have a line called Forbidden Fruit, the Golden Age of the Exploitation Picture that they've put out, I believe, like 12 releases in this line. And the most well-known and heard of title in that line clearly is Reefer Madness and Sex Madness. And they are just trying to restore and archive some of the craziest exploitation pictures that were ever brought to film. And I love collecting these. They have some great titles on that line. And that is it for Volume 3 of this series. Thanks for taking a look for this. We've gotten all the way through K now. We still have quite a bit more to go, but thanks for hanging out and giving these a watch. Check out all of those labels that I talked about if you haven't before. All of the links for them are below in the description. If you have any questions about them, let me know. And from one collector to all of you, have a good night. Third installment of my Every Boutique Label That I Correct series that I